Sudbury, 9 degrees. A bit of frost in the North Country overnight. Checking the weather forecast for today and tonight, though. Ron Fordyce, I see there are frost advisories for all of Southern Ontario, for Northern Ontario, all areas of the province except for James Bay. And why is that?
Why would you want a frost warning in James Bay? Who cares?
The people in James Bay care.
No, they don't. They can't grow anything there.
Why not?
We're only dealing with areas that are frost prone, like for agricultural needs.
Maybe they grow prunes up there.
All right, Jack, what is coming this way?
It looks like we're going to continue under a large high-pressure system which will give us mainly sunny skies and cool temperatures for at least the next 48 hours.
And what might the chances be that we'll see another visit from Jack Frost tonight?
There's a good chance of frost again overnight tonight, with the low temperature expected to dip just slightly below zero in most areas of central and northern Ontario.
But for the prone growers up in the James Bay area, you need not worry. Temperatures up there will dip only to about 7 above. I'm David DeLoye. The CKSO Noon Report is next.
When your car needs parts or service and your budget needs a break, come to Canadian Tire. For many years, Canadian Tire has been known for high-quality, economy-priced parts and for the expert service needed to improve a car's operating efficiency and safety. Drive in and see how Canadian Tire can help save you money. A professional wheel alignment and suspension check is only $12.95 for most cars. Parts and installation extra if required. Should your car need new shock absorbers, Canadian Tire Ride-O-Matic shock absorbers, guaranteed as long as you own the car in which they are installed, only $5.99 each, installation extra. And when it comes to engine tune-up, brake adjustments, complete disc and drum brake overhauls, and muffler installation, depend on Canadian Tire's certified technicians, backed by a modern testing and repair equipment service. Remember, you can get instant credit for car service and parts at Canadian Tire. See the sales staff for full details and your Canadian Tire credit card.
A postal strike, another postal strike? Well, that's the way the talk is in the postal circles in Ottawa. Both sides are at loggerheads again over several issues. And in fact, it might not even be a strike this time. Postmaster General Bryce Mackesy is even talking about closing down the postal service for 2 or 3 months. The union spokesman Paul Mitchell is just as adamant that the union will get its way.
This is a crucial and very important set of negotiations to us, and this contract is probably the most important contract we'll ever sign. And we have to get the protections we need from the adverse effects of the government's $1 billion automation program this year. We have to get our job security, job classification protections, and be able to get some say in the implementation of the automation program. And we're just going to have to wait out the strike until, if there is a strike, until we get those things in a contract.
If the strike does come to Sudbury, an area like the rest of Canada, it'll have its postal problems. We've got about 100 inside workers belonging to the union. They haven't heard anything from their national union executive yet, but a spokesman here did tell us that the local workers will, of course, follow the course of the union. That no board report expected by the Steelworkers Union local, representing about 100 CIL workers at the Inco Iron Ore Recovery Acid Plant, still isn't in. It was expected in the mail yesterday. Still wasn't in when we checked a few minutes ago. Sort of maybe says something about the mail service, even though there are no visible labor problems right now. The workers, by the way, at the CIL plant can go on strike legally 14 days after that no board report is received. It's the old standoff again between Mine Mill and Falconbridge. Management refuses to entertain the demands of Local 598. They say that they are much too high for any sincere bargaining, and still no word when the two sides plan to get together again. Well, it still will be a while before the effects of the Bartenders Hotel Association dispute becomes a part of the past. Hotel owners are still trying to figure out just how much prices will have to go up, and if it turns out to be a little more than you would have expected, that's probably because there's been more to increase operating costs than just the recent wage settlement. Dave Caswell, he's president of the Hotel Association, and he explains.
Each operator is going to have to take their individual operations and their statements and determine what the 40% increase in natural gas is going to mean to their operating costs, what the 12.5% increase in municipal taxes is going to mean to each place, and combine this along with the increased costs in meat contracts, food prices, and determine from there what is required in their own operations for pricing purposes, as they have done in the past, and that has nothing to do really or directly with the union contract at all.
And somewhere out of all that red tape will come new prices, and I might mention that there's at least one watering hole in the city which has already increased its rate somewhat. You know, the things that people will do to try and make their point. A point at issue is the Montreal area, where the city police are just going away to make life miserable for the public. Here's George Ferguson.
Today, the MUC policemen have scaled down their nuisance campaign somewhat. They're going after trucks, checking tire pressures and licenses. Overnight, there were no normal police patrols. They answered emergency calls only. The tactics are in sharp contrast to yesterday afternoon's rush hour, when police blocked on and off ramps to major expressways and blocked all bridges on and off the island as they checked each car and driver. Traffic in the island city was almost at a complete standstill. The policemen have chosen this method to register their disgust with the city's latest contract offer regarding their shifting arrangements. They're after a 4-day work week.
Meanwhile, the Canadian Armed Forces and Quebec Provincial Police are standing by just in case the Montreal city policemen decide to walk out and go on strike. And Montrealers have another pending labor dispute that they just may have to live with. The garage and maintenance workers who keep the city's buses and subways moving will be meeting tonight. It's expected a strike announcement will come out of that session. Sudbury riding NDP candidate Bud Germa on this morning's action line. Germa says that there's been no surprises coming out of this election campaign so far. The issues are what everybody thought they'd be: high rents, a housing shortage, exorbitant gas prices. All in, Germa is quite pleased with the way that his campaign has been going.
The organization has finally come around into shape, and I'm quite satisfied and happy with what we're accomplishing. I'm working particularly close to the committee running the campaign. I'm trying to direct the affairs in a manner which will prove to be victorious on Election Day. I'm working on the doorsteps quite constantly and steadily, and I'm getting a very good response from the electorate.
By the way, tomorrow morning's guest in the action line, Progressive Conservative candidate for the Sudbury riding, Joe Fabro. Another 12,000 Canadians unemployed last month over the month previous. Even at this time of the year, the reverse is usually the case. Ottawa's adjusted rate, they like reporting things that way, and it shows an increase of 1/10 of a percentage point. There was an improvement, however, in Ontario, Alberta, and Saskatchewan. But how'd you like to live in Newfoundland, where the latest statistics show an unemployment rate of 21%? I said 21%. That means that more than 1 out of every 5 people, presumably looking for a job, cannot find one in Newfoundland. Those test court cases on fraudulent advertising are quite interesting. The latest involves what is marketed as a gas miser, guaranteed to save on your present gas mileage, cost $16. Well, a National Research Council official testified yesterday that he tested that device. And as far as he's concerned, all it does is restrict the flow of gasoline between the fuel pump and the carburetor, and does actually nothing to increase mileage rates. If the governments of this world can find a way to make money, they're sure to do it. It seems this comes out of France. The finance minister of that country, Jean-Pierre Forçade, is proposing a tax on pornography. Bunch of dirty old men. That old Bible thumper Charles Osgood tells us that the good old days of good old-time religion.
Preaching isn't what it used to be. This, according to a Raleigh, North Carolina outfit called the Christian Sermon Society, Incorporated. The society says that the quality of preaching has gone downhill in recent years. It's sponsoring a sermon contest, $1,000 first prize. Says the Reverend Stephen Shoemaker, a Presbyterian minister who's organizer of the Sermon Society. Sermon has almost become a bad word.
The good word, it's 12:08. And as a part of the noon report, we continue our free-time political broadcast. Today we feature William Stewart, leader of the Ontario Communist Party.
Next week, you will cast your ballots to elect a new government. The Communist Party, from the beginning of this campaign, has focused on the real needs of the people. We haven't been sidetracked into debates on integrity or concerned about